There was another alternative that he provided them if they chose not to return back to the office. They could just resign.
That's absolutely false. This is a suggestion to federal workers that they have to return to work. And if they don't, then they have the option to resign.
Caroline Leavitt, the Trump whisperer, she's been in the news quite a lot.
One on the freeze in federal funding. Who advised the president on the legality of telling government agencies that they don't have to spend money that was already appropriated by Congress?
Well, as the OMB memo states, this is certainly within the confines of the law. So White House counsel's office believes that this is within the president's power to do it, and therefore he's doing it.
Now there's an ultimatum that's being put out there. Get back to work. Specifically, federal workers need to get back to the office. There was another alternative that he provided them if they chose not to return back to the office. They could just resign. So Caroline Leavitt, while she was outside, she was actually asked these same questions on who needs to return back to work and what does Trump mean.
What's going on?
One question about these buyouts. You've been describing it as this effort to get folks to return to work. The union that represents federal workers, though, says this isn't a voluntary buyout. They say this is a purge of people that don't agree with the president. What's your response?
That's absolutely false. This is a suggestion to federal workers that they have to return to work. And if they don't, then they have the option to resign. And this administration is very generously offering to pay them for 8 months. 6% of the federal workforce in the city actually shows up to work. That's unacceptable. We're all here at work at the office. There are law enforcement officers and teachers and nurses across the country who showed up to the office today. People in this city need to do the same. It's an overwhelmingly popular policy with people outside of Washington, D.C. The president campaigned on this, and his administration's keeping the promise.
This is one of the reasons I hate the press. They don't press back on anything. You would think that if you're going to approach Caroline Leavitt with some questions about federal employees returning back to work, you would have your numbers in front of you. So for instance, a large number of employees are eligible to work from home, but how many of them actually capitalize on that ability? So to give you an example, in the VA, there are over 485,000 workers. According to the Washington Post, 26% of those exact same employees are eligible to work from home. 8% of them capitalize on it. This mandate seems to be targeting two real areas, administration and education. What I believe is happening is they're seeing the number of people that are eligible to work from home and thinking that they're at home playing solitaire. Most of the department employees don't even work permanently from home. They work what you would call a hybrid. So it's really some days at the office and then some days at home. One of the things that I don't think is being considered in all of this is the amount of people that have a disability that can not just jump in their car and return back to work. Over 100,000 employees were given the opportunity to work because they could simply just do the job from home. One other category that needs to be taken into consideration are the spouses of military personnel that are often deployed. These spouses that stay home to raise the kids, they found a healthy in-between to where they could do both, pay the bills and take care of their children.
There are law enforcement officers and teachers and nurses across the country who showed up to the office today. People in this city need to do the same. It's an overwhelmingly popular policy with people outside of Washington, D.C. The president campaigned on this, and his administration's keeping the promise.
Quick question to follow up on that. How much more is it going to cost? Because a lot of the space has now been given away, leases have expired, new purchases need to take place. What will it cost to bring all those workers back to create the new offices they need?
It's going to save tens of millions of dollars because this government has been wasting millions of dollars on empty office space. That is beautiful. I mean, look at the buildings in this city. They're gorgeous. They've been here for decades, and the American people are paying for them. And so we're going to make good use of the office space in the city by having these federal workers return to work. I would also add that the order simply directs federal agencies to come up with a return to work plan. And so this isn't a purge, and this isn't forcing every single individual in Washington, D.C. to return to work, only if they are able and, of course, within the law.
I heard what she said, you heard what she said, but there's one area of what she mentioned that I'm really struggling to understand.
Question to follow up on that. How much more is it going to cost? Because a lot of the space has now been given away, leases have expired, new purchases need to take place. What will it cost to bring all those workers back to create the new offices they need?
It's going to save tens of millions of dollars because this government has been wasting millions of dollars on empty office space. That is beautiful. I mean, look at the buildings in this city. They're gorgeous. They've been here for decades, and the American people are paying for them. And so we're going to make good use of the office space in the city by having these federal workers return to work. I would also add that the order simply directs federal agencies to come up with a return to work plan. And so this isn't a purge, and this isn't forcing every single individual in Washington, D.C. to return to work, only if they are able and, of course, within the law.
Now, they go into a few more details in regards to Pete Hegseth and Mark Milley and whatnot, but that's not what we're talking about right now. The level of thinking that I'm hearing right now is very one-dimensional, and please give me a moment just to explain what I mean. Donald Trump ran on the concept of being able to save the American people money. Jobs, there'll be more. Cost of living, that's coming down. In the grand scheme of things, you could say it's a larger number, but department to department, not a lot of people are working from home. If the office space is sitting there empty, is it not possible to occupy it with someone that requires office space for the single purpose of it not being wasted taxpayer dollars? Add that to the fact that now there are going to be more people on the roads commuting back and forth. Next, and this is for those of you that have little kids, those kids don't just sit at home while mommy and daddy go to work. They need to be put in a daycare, or you need a babysitter. That's another added expense. Also, depending on where you live, if you picked up a federal job, you might not feel the pinch of the distance. For about 4 to 6 years, you've heard constant complaining that gas prices are too high, insurance is too high. Let's just stick with gas alone. If you work from home and you have a vehicle, it costs less gas, you save money, so you have more opportunity to then spend money elsewhere. The areas that she mentioned, police officers, nurses, education I completely understand, but police officers and nurses, I don't think I see either one of them working from home. Hold on, so we're not done yet. On Reddit, there almost seems to be this rebellion building of people willing to stay in their jobs out of nothing but just sheer spite. I mean, you have people here talking about, it's made me tear up a couple of times today, you guys are the best. People screaming, hold the line. You have some that are rereading the oath of office, making sure that others know that their oath is to the Constitution, not the president. Like this one comment right here that says, my responsibility is to taxpayers because non-citizens pay into our system and I work for them as well. Not whatever administration is in power. I'm going to keep working for the people who pay my salary and do my best to make sure their best interests are taken into account. It will always be my responsibility to do whatever I can to protect the vulnerable among us and lift up those around me. Compassion is not a weakness, diversity is a strength, and ethics will always be important. I know the majority of my co-workers believe all of this. We did not become civil servants to make money or have an easy job. I'm proud of us too. Thank you for this message. And then lastly, of course, you have this one comment here that I am definitely not going to read, but you see who it's talking about and you see what it is telling them to do. One of the reasons why it's actually encouraged for you to persevere is because you don't actually know how far this is all going to go. Recently, there were a slew of executive orders that were signed, and simply due to the fact that there was so much confusion as to what was going on with the government, they basically just put a freeze on everything. Then, of course, a little later, Donald Trump rescinded all of this. And, of course, there was the confusion saying that it was just a memo they were rescinding, that everything was still in play, which seems to have given the judge just enough ammunition for them to shut everything down. But that's a different subject. Regardless of your position, I think it's imperative that if you can make the adjustments, do so. From how it looks, it almost looks like a power play. In all fairness, this is certainly one way that you could purge the numbers so you could bring in, well, your own, but that's just speculation. But let me know what it is that you guys think. Do you agree with the mandate that people should return back to the office? You have to go to work, you have to show up to the office, so they should as well. Or do you think, no, more people having to return back to the office means traffic is going to get clogged again, they're going to damage the roads, potholes and smog, on the top of which you avoided looking at Jimmy ever again. Now both of you have to sit across from one another and pretend like you like each other one more time. Whatever your thoughts are, leave them in the comment section. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like, and I will see you again on the next one. Be easy, y'all.